Good day and welcome to the KVV Training Centre. Today we'll be looking at an introduction to building plans and town planning. I should start this training with a little bit of a disclaimer, confirming that we are an attorney firm specialising in conveyancing. We are not architects, town planners or surveyors, and therefore this training is merely an introduction to the world of town planning and building plans. Before we look at the town planning process, it's important to look at the responsibilities placed on local government. In terms of Section 152 and 153 of our Constitution, there are very specific obligations placed on local government or a municipality. Firstly, they must ensure the provision of services to communities in a sustainable manner. This is important when a municipality considers any application in terms of town planning or for the approval of building plans. They cannot approve the application if there's not adequate connections available for water to the stand, for electricity to the stand, for sewage connection to the stand, for instance. They must also promote social and economic development and promote a safe and healthy environment. Therefore, they must ensure that the community can function in this town planning scheme. Therefore, there must be adequate access to schools, to shopping centres, to parks, to roads, to stormwater. All of the above must be in place before the application can be processed and approved. A municipality must structure and manage its administration and budgeting and planning processes to give priority to the needs of the community and to promote the social and economic development of the community. So why is it necessary to have approved building plans for your property? Firstly, because the National Building Regulations and Building Standards Act stipulates that no person may erect, alter, add to, or convert any building without the prior approval of the local authority. It also ties in with our previous slide regarding the responsibility of the municipality, who must ensure the safety of their residents. Therefore, the municipality cannot allow the building of any property if that property is not going to be safe for the occupants thereof. If you want to lodge an application for the approval of your building plans, there are certain information that you need to look at and consider that ties in with the town planning process. When considering the approval of any building plans or town planning application, the municipality will first look at the town planning scheme that was approved by the municipality for the area. In terms of the town planning scheme, the purpose is to enable the comprehensive management of all property and related public sector functions across the city through the implementation of certain general guidelines. In other words, the municipality has a long-term vision for all the areas within its jurisdiction. In terms of that vision that has been approved, certain areas will have been demarcated for residential purposes. Certain areas will have been demarcated for industrial purposes or for business purposes or for schools or parks, etc. Therefore, if any of these applications want to be changed, the municipality must look at the implication on the rest of the township and the area surrounded by it, as well as the implication on its residents. Therefore, any application for a rezoning, for instance, will have to be very carefully looked at to consider the impact of such a change to the town planning scheme as approved by the municipality. Now let's look at the town planning process. Every property in South Africa falls within the jurisdiction of a local authority. At the local authority, we'll be able to see all the information that tells us the identity of the specific stand. In terms of the information at the municipality, we'll be able to see the zoning information, the floor area ratio of the property, the coverage that's allowed on the property, the density allowed, as well as the height restrictions applicable to the property. Let's look at the various points in more detail. The first point we look at when looking at the identity of the property is the zoning information. The zoning information will tell us what the property is to be used for or is allowed to be used for by the owner of the property. The first type of zoning is residential, and residential zoning is categorized in 4 different categories. Firstly, residential 1, which is properties that can have a density of only 1 dwelling per stand or earth, in other words, a house. That is your normal township and your normal house that you will find in a normal township. Residential 2 allows a density of between 10 and 20 dwellings per hectare, so that will usually be your clusters or townhouses. Residential 3 permits a density of between 21 and 40 dwellings per hectare, and that will be your smaller clusters or townhouses. And Residential 4 allows for a density of between 41 and 120 dwellings per hectare, which is usually your block of flats. The second type of zoning we'll look at is that of business. In other words, the use of the property has been approved for business purposes. The first type of zoning for business is Business 1, which is your shopping centers or shopping malls and has unrestricted business purpose approval. Business 2 is still a shopping center but with certain restricted businesses that may be operated on the site. Business 3 is a more stricter zoning which will not allow a wider variety of businesses to open and operate in the center. So for instance, it can be a small little center where there may only be food stores, for instance. And Business 4 provides for office use with or without residential use. Lastly, we look at zoning for industrial purposes, which provides for 3 categories. Firstly, Industrial 1, which is zoning for normal factories, warehouses or storage depots. Industrial 2, which allows for operations that can involve noxious and/or unpleasant odors and emissions, such as abattoirs, foundries or glue works. And Industrial 3, which caters for specific applications, such as specialist workshops or mini factories. The next item to look at is the coverage that is allowed for a specific property. That is defined as follows. It's the building footprint on the stand. In other words, what percentage of the stand is covered by a roof. Paving, driveways, swimming pools and/or boundary or garden walls do not count towards coverage in South Africa. Coverage is typically 50% for a single or double-story dwelling building and 40% for a 3-story building. As opposed to coverage stands FAR or floor area ratio. That is the percentage of living space allowable on the stand. Bedrooms, lounges, kitchens or workers' quarters will count, but garages, covered patios, lapas, sheds, swimming pools and storerooms do not. FARs vary between 0.3 to 1.2. A low FAR of 0.6, for example, will effectively ensure that the first floor is smaller than the ground floor in a double-story building. When preparing your application for approval of building plans, you also need to look at your title deed to confirm whether there are any restrictive conditions in your title deed. Title deeds usually have restrictive conditions within them which could affect the outcome of your building plan application. Title deeds usually have a 2-meter servitude on 2 boundaries other than a street boundary or panhandle. This servitude is in favor of the municipality and allows for connections like sewage pipes or water pipes. If your building is going to be over the 2-meter servitude line, you need to either move your building or you'll have to apply for relaxation of building lines. Your title deed may also restrict the type of building that is allowed on the property, such as prohibiting metal roofs or wooden buildings. Further to the above, if your property falls within a homeowners association or an estate, you also need to look at the rules and guidelines laid down by the homeowners association. Estate guidelines from the Aesthetics Committee or Body Corporate or Residence Association may stipulate what you are allowed to build and not build on your property. A list of requirements that ensure aesthetic harmony and good building practice within the estate or complex will always exist. Plans must be stamped and a letter from the Homeowners Association must be approved for the council, indicating that they are happy with your planned building before the municipality will consider your building plan application. Before any stand or earth is first registered in South Africa in the Deeds Office, it is first surveyed by a land surveyor. Therefore, an SG diagram will be available for each and every stand in South Africa at the Surveyor General's office. This derives from when the property was first registered in terms of a general plan, or if the property was later consolidated or subdivided in terms of the diagram that was lodged with the subdivision or the consolidation application. In terms of your S2 diagram, you'll be able to see if there's any restrictions on the property or any servitudes registered over the property. For any type of development, the municipality will first require a site development plan, which will show the municipality exactly what the developer intends with the development, where the units will be situated, and how they will look like at the end of the development. The requirements for a site development plan are as follows. The implementation of all improvements that are needed for a site before construction may begin. A landscape architectural plan and a detailed engineering drawing of proposed improvements to a given earth. A site plan usually shows a building footprint, travelways, parking, drainage facilities, sanitary sewer lines, water lines, trails, lighting, and landscaping and garden elements. Such a plan of a site is a graphic representation of the arrangement of buildings, parking, drives, landscaping, and any other structure that is part of a development project. The municipality will also require a structural engineer certificate. This is always a requirement when your building is under construction or finished, when you're constructing a new house or building, and when your plans indicate concrete floors, roof slabs, wooden floors, Juliet balconies, steel construction, timber frame construction, and cellars. If your stand has poor soil quality or is on a slope, you will also require an engineer certificate. You may also need approval from the other departments in the municipality. The fire department will have to sign off if your property is zoned business, commercial, special use, or if you are building with thatch or timber frame construction. Water and sewage will have to sign off if you are applying for building line relaxation, proposing a new house or building, or doing major renovations. Roads and transport also needs to sign off if you're applying for building line relaxation. And environmental health will have to sign off if your property is zoned agricultural, business, commercial, or special use. Other requirements to consider include the following. You will have to complete the application form and pay the prescribed fee. You may have to do energy efficiency calculations, energy consumption and demand calculations, and provide a water layout. If your property is more than 60 years old, you will also need heritage approval, and the municipality may request an aerial photograph and contour map as well. This diagram will give you an indication of the complete process from the lodging of the building plans until they are approved. You will note that if you missed a step or if the building plans are rejected, you'll have to either repeat the step or you'll have to start from scratch. Once the plans are approved, then you are allowed to start building. Once your property has been completed, the municipality will send out an inspector to confirm that the property was actually built in terms of the approved building plans. If you are lodging as-built plans, in other words, your property has already been completed without plans and now you are lodging plans after the fact, the municipality will also send out an inspector at this point to confirm that the property is built in accordance with the building plans presented to the municipality and will then now approve the building plans after the sign-off of the inspection. In both instances, the final step will be the issue of an occupation certificate, which the municipality will issue indicating that the building has been built in accordance with the approved building plan and that the property is now safe for occupation. This is very important in terms of the obligation that is placed on the municipality by the Constitution, that confirming that the municipality must ensure the safety of its citizens. The occupation certificate, therefore, is the most important document confirming that the property is safe and that the municipality has met their obligations. Thank you very much for watching our training on building plans and introduction to town planning. For any further information, please visit our training center on our website. Thank you.